This week in Jamaica Now, a schoolboy stabbed to death and a viral video showing students brutally assaulting a classmate. What has gone wrong in schools?
Whom you talk to, this letter is the third one.
A church service turned into a murder scene. Worshippers fled as gunfire erupted inside a Montego Bay church, leaving a choir member dead.
And I'm not sure who gave them the authority or where the audacity to do something like that came from. And I can tell you emphatically, that is 100% illegal.
A barbed wire fence on 7 Mile Beach sparks national outrage and heated debate in Parliament over sweeping post-disaster recovery powers. A government MP broke ranks calling for a review of the NARRA bill.
The bill needs some reworking.
I'm Karen Madden, and this is Jamaica Now. The perennial problem of school violence has again taken center stage after a schoolboy was fatally stabbed and a viral video surfaced showing students physically assaulting a schoolmate. We start in St. Thomas, where a family is reeling after 13-year-old Seaforth High student Clanda Doyle was stabbed to death in a fight with another student on Monday. Doyle's relatives insist rumors about Doyle fueled persistent taunts and tensions that escalated despite repeated police interventions. The father of a boy accused of killing Doyle admitted to sharing information about the teen. The father said he did not intend for the information to spread. Doyle was stabbed near the Montego Bay Transport Center after a confrontation that reportedly began on the school compound. 3 students are in police custody. The accused boy's mother said she would not apologize because her previous efforts at resolving the dispute were not met with openness. A former PTA president at Seaforth described the deadly outcome as unexpected, despite the dispute being known within the school community. And the administration at Jamaica College says all students involved in a viral assault incident will face its disciplinary committee. The school has condemned the behavior as reprehensible and unacceptable. JC said the boy, seen being slapped, admitted he took items including a jacket, glasses, and money from other students. The school said the video was taken on campus at a point where the student failed to return them, prompting a confrontation that escalated into violence. Chairman Lance Hilton said the main individuals were interviewed Monday in the presence of their parents and signed a statement secured. Acting Senior Superintendent Mark Harris said Friday that the boy who slapped the student has been charged with assault, occasioning actual bodily harm. The incident has also drawn scrutiny from the Ministry of Education, which has ordered a probe. The latest incident comes weeks after JC denied the claims of systemic bullying at the school after a boy suffered a broken nose in a fight with another student. An attorney representing the injured boy said the latest video adds pressure on the school to examine claims of a bullying culture. A fatal fight between 2 boys at Ocho Rios High and a brawl on a state-owned school bus are also among recent incidents that have grabbed national attention. And the Education Minister has condemned the latest series of violent episodes in public schools. Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris Dixon says the government will pursue new measures to address bullying.
Our children are really products of the communities that they are from, the homes that they are from, and that we are seeing in our schools a lot of the realities that we see in our communities. The schools are not distant from the communities within which they are delivering education services. And so we are finding that the same issues we see in our communities, the same issues with conflict resolution, they're popping up in school because it is learned behavior. And so what we've had to be doing in the Ministry of Education is putting a lot more emphasis on that work on the psychosocial dimension. We're doing a lot of work in literacy and numeracy, but we've recognized that that alone is not enough. And so we have Mr. Troop and his team doing a lot of work. We have the guidance counselors out there working with the students. We've provided avenues for them to speak up when there are issues. But we have to keep doing it. Some of the young men who've been involved in some of the activities that have been in the news, they're not from underprivileged families. So this is a problem that is happening across our country, and we have to deal with it.
And former Prime Minister Bruce Golding had a message for the authorities and the students at Jamaica College this week. Golding, a JC past student, was speaking on Wednesday during an event at JC to mark the 60th anniversary of Haile Selassie's visit to the St. Andrew-based institution.
What we saw on social media is not something that we must attempt to explain away. It's not something that we must seek to rationalize. It is something that is just plain wrong. And it does not represent the value of the vast majority, if not all of you, sitting in this auditorium. And therefore we have a duty to you in dealing with it, to be firm but fair, to be transparent but decisive. We have to send a signal to the rest of the society that what they saw does not equal justice.
JC has been accused of underplaying concerns about bullying at the school. Its statement on the viral video has also been criticized as supporting jungle justice. A church service in Montego Bay, St. James, was shattered by gunfire on Wednesday, leaving a choir member dead and worshippers fleeing in panic. Police say 38-year-old Cora Thompson was in the churchyard of the New Testament Church of God on Water Lane selling books when a masked gunman opened fire and escaped in a black Toyota Voxy. Thompson, who lived in the city with her 12-year-old son, was rushed to hospital but pronounced dead. She was reportedly also making plans to bury the father for a child on Sunday. Inside, congregants had been in a period of fasting when the explosions rang out, triggering chaos as persons screamed and scrambled for cover.
I whom you talk to, this letter is the third one.
Senior Superintendent Aaron Samuels described the killing as a very unfortunate incident.
It is really an unfortunate incident and really an attack against, I would say, the city of Montego Bay. We are very hurt and upset about it, and we will not spare any effort to find who the killers are.
Custos of St. James, Bishop Conrad Pitkin, condemned the shooting as shameless, pointing to what he called a breakdown in respect for life and sacred spaces. YouTuber Jhaedee Richards, also known as Jaii Frais, and the music producer Jahvel Jahvy Ambassador Morrison have each been granted $1.5 million in bail in connection with the recent shooting at the Big Wall Carnival Party in St. Andrew. The gun court granted them bail on Friday. As part of their bail conditions, both men must surrender their travel documents, report to the police 3 times weekly, and observe a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Jaii Frais is charged with wounding with intent, shooting with intent, unauthorized possession of ammunition, using a prohibited weapon to commit a felony, and possession of a prohibited weapon. Morrison, a licensed firearm holder, is charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm, wounding with intent, and using a prohibited weapon to commit a felony. Both men are to return to court on July 8. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has ordered an immediate halt to the production, distribution, and sale of sugar from Pan-Caribbean Sugar Company Limited after preliminary tests detected metal fragments in packaged products. Affected batches labeled 01-2029 to 01-2028 are now under recall, with officials warning the contaminated sugar may pose serious health risks if consumed. Authorities say the particles could cause internal injury or damage teeth and have urged Jamaicans not to use, sift, or attempt to filter the product. Consumers are being advised to discard or return the sugar to where it was purchased. The company has apologized, describing the issue as limited, and says it is working with regulators while implementing additional safety checks. A barbed wire fence blocking a section of Negril's famous 7-mile beach sparked public concern, swift intervention by the Urban Development Corporation, and renewed debate over beach access rights in Jamaica. The issue came to light after hotelier and runner Winthrop Wellington posted a viral video showing what he described as an obstruction along his usual route. He questioned how a public beach could be divided, warning that it could set a dangerous precedent for restricted access.
From what I understand, the proprietor of this new scuba business here is the one that put up the fence there. And I'm not sure who gave them the authority or where the audacity to do something like that came from. And I can tell you emphatically, that is 100% illegal. This is a public beach. Nobody owns it. Nobody can stop anybody from going to and from.
However, Reef Explorer instructor Diego Heaven, whose business is linked to the area, said the fence was never intended to block the public. He said the structure was erected to protect against repeated theft and vandalism of equipment, including beach chairs and dive gear. He insisted access would remain and said security concerns, including poor lighting, had driven the decision. Former Negril Chamber of Commerce President Elaine Bradley welcomed the UDC's removal of the fence, but warned the incident highlights the need for clear enforcement to protect public beach access rights. The government recently tabled a beach access policy, which has drawn strong reactions from rights groups, saying it does not go far enough. Opposition business leader Phillip Paulwell says a memorandum from the clerk to the Houses of Parliament has clarified that the Ethics Committee cannot reopen the approved exemption motion involving St. Andrew East Central MP Dennis Gordon without fresh direction from the House of Representatives. Paulwell said the advice states that once the House adopts a committee report, the committee's mandate on the particular issue is concluded. He said this confirms that any attempt to revisit the matter without a new parliamentary motion would be contrary to established procedure. Paulwell said the clarification reinforces the authority of the House over its committees and provides guidance on parliamentary process. He stressed that any further consideration must be properly directed by Parliament. The development comes after Gordon declined to appear before the Ethics Committee this week, arguing it lacks jurisdiction. The committee itself has now indicated that the matter should be referred back to the full House. Former Attorney General Marlene Malahoo Forte has urged the government to rework the law proposed to establish the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARRA, breaking ranks during a parliamentary debate on the bill on Tuesday. Government has pitched the establishment of NARRA central to coordinating and fast-tracking Jamaica's recovery from Hurricane Melissa. Malahoo Forte, a government MP, warned the NARRA bill in its current form risks concentrating excessive power in the hands of the minister and chief executive officer. She cautioned that some functions may collide and undermine accountability.
The bill in its current form will not achieve the goals that are set.
Thank you, Member.
Madam Speaker, this matter is so important. I don't know what motivates my colleagues on that side who are clapping, but I know that I am vested in the success of the actions of the government. And so, Madam Speaker, this is too important for us not to have the kind of buy-in and take into account the very valid concerns that have been raised. So, Madam Speaker, on that note, I invite the Prime Minister piloting the bill and the team to take into account the very valid points that have been made. The bill needs some reworking.
Her intervention drew desk-thumping support from opposition members who have raised concerns about weak oversight, secrecy provisions, and the sweeping authority over billions in post-hurricane reconstruction funds. Opposition leader Mark Golding also called for the bill to be reviewed by a joint select committee, citing governance concerns, including the absence of a statutory board.
There's no provision, as I've said, for any board of the authority, for any audit committee, for an internal auditor, for any risk management functions, anything of that nature. And this is an entity that is going to be responsible for administering and managing the expenditure of billions and billions of US dollars worth, if we're to understand, both from the public sector side, but also to facilitate private sector investors as well through speeded up, expedited procedures. This cannot be right. The law is not clear as to who the Chief Executive Officer reports to. There is a reporting section where the minister can require reports, but that's a different thing from a management perspective and a governance perspective. Who does the CEO report to? It's not clear. How is the CEO's deliverables decided? What are the key performance indicators applicable to the authority and to the CEO's functions? Nothing at all on this. It says that in Section 10 that NARRA reports to the Prime Minister, but there's nothing about the CEO's reporting responsibility. And that is a big issue.
Opposition spokesman Peter Bunting described the bill as a blank check without guardrails, warning it could allow the executive to override regulatory bodies and centralize decision-making. But State Minister Delana Sivright defended the legislation, arguing it is designed to cut bureaucratic delays while maintaining oversight through audits, reporting requirements, and the cabinet supervision.
We hear that the mandate is too broad. But let us be serious. Reconstruction is broad. You cannot fix roads without drainage. You can't fix houses without utilities. And you can't build communities without infrastructure. The bill frankly reflects reality, but critically, it is not unbounded. It is anchored by cabinet-approved projects. I hear the points about power and concentration of power. Let us deal directly with this concern about leadership, because this is really a problem. I don't know what it is. I don't know what we're drinking. I don't know what we're drinking in the country. Yes, the CEO, yes, the Chief Executive Officer has responsibility under Clause 5. But let me ask you a simple question. In a national reconstruction effort, who should be responsible? Because history shows us what happens when no one is. And as the Prime Minister rightly stated, when accountability is diffused, institutions start to protect the processes rather than deliver outcomes, and the people suffer. So the bill avoids that failure. And importantly, and this is the CEO fits, the CEO is not unchecked.
Debate on the bill is expected to continue next week. The debate is on the second version of the bill after Prime Minister Holness pulled the first version amid public criticism. National Security Minister Dr. Harris Chang has pushed back against calls from civil society groups for mandatory use of body-worn cameras during planned police operations, saying such decisions rest with the security forces. Speaking in the House of Representatives during the sectoral debate on Tuesday, Chang said the Jamaica Constabulary Force has already acquired body-worn cameras and continues to expand the deployment.
We have acquired body-worn cameras and they have been deployed, but deployment is decided by the Commissioner of Police. Body-worn cameras are part of modern police equipment. And the only person who have the authority and the professional capacity to instruct where they should go is the Commissioner of Police as a team. No civil society organization can tell us where to put them. That was what was damaging the police for years. Everybody like cowboy policing and downmanship and then tell police how to go police. Cameras are good for transparency and accountability, and we will continue to acquire. We have another 1,000 order, and the police will provide the equipment. Well, let me make it plain. The police force, my job is oversight and providing equipment. Society holds them accountable. They do policing, and we have an excellent commissioner of police. We know that.
And at a news conference on Wednesday, Chang said wearing body-worn cameras on certain operations will put the police at risk. He used this hypothetical scenario.
We have an operation plan. We're going to visit a difficult area at 3 o'clock in the morning because you hear some murderer who has killed 12 people is in the community. And he moves around rapid like anyone. The hunted moves faster than the hunter, you know. You can't send an officer in there just with with a marked car with lights blaring. They're gone. So you send a special squad in there, they're at risk. They'll be killed if they're not careful. And they can't go with cameras. Cameras will make them a target. They might find somebody, they might find nobody. The police does that all the time. So it has to be the decision of the Commissioner of Police who wears the camera, where and when.
But the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, has fired back a response to Dr. Chang, challenging his claim about risks of body-worn cameras in high-risk operations by the security forces. INDECOM says global evidence does not support claims that the cameras pose operational risks, noting that modern systems are designed for frontline use and are widely adopted internationally. INDECOM says the use of body-worn cameras is urgent, pointing to 311 fatal police shootings in 2025, the highest since 2010. It said up to Thursday, there were 105 killings by the security forces so far this year, 2 more than the similar period last year. The Commission maintains that body cameras are critical for transparency, accountability, and preserving life and are standard in countries like the United States, Brazil, and the United Kingdom. It says without video evidence, investigations rely heavily on conflicting accounts, weakening public trust. According to the state watchdog, calls for greater use of body-worn cameras should not be viewed as anti-police, and that it is not seeking to instruct the police commissioner, but to encourage the use of more transparency measures. Lobby groups like Jamaicans for Justice have also pushed for greater use of body-worn cameras. And the National Security Minister, Dr. Harris Chang, says amendments to the Firearms Act will be brought to Parliament in short order to introduce lesser penalties for possession of imitation firearms. That offense currently attracts the same mandatory 15-year prison sentence as real guns. The announcement comes amid criticism that the 2022 law leaves judges with little discretion, particularly in cases involving children or legitimate use of replica weapons in artistic or educational settings. Chang said the intention is to relocate the offense within the legislation to allow for lighter sanctions, noting that the original approach reflected the tough stance on guns at the time. He acknowledged, however, that the government is revisiting aspects of the law following concerns raised by the legal fraternity. Criminal defense attorney Kimberly Whitaker has argued that imitation firearms cannot discharge bullets and should not be treated identically to real weapons, warning that the law risks undermining proportional sentencing principles. The Constitutional Court has dismissed a legal challenge brought by 4 protesters who claimed their rights were breached when police broke up a 2021 anti-COVID vaccine march. The court ruled that restrictions imposed under the Disaster Risk Management Act were lawful, proportionate, and justified given the global health crisis. The judges said the right to assemble and freedom of movement may be limited where necessary, noting the COVID-19 pandemic posed a nationwide risk. They found the measures were grounded in medical evidence and aimed at protecting public health and did not breach the Constitution. The claimants, led by politician Joseph Patterson, had argued that pandemic laws and the Public Order Act unlawfully restricted constitutional rights and bypassed emergency procedures. However, in a ruling on April 16, the court rejected all declarations sought, finding the laws were valid and properly applied. Patterson leads the United Independent Congress, a registered political party in Jamaica. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner, and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notifications, and subscribe today. I'm Karen Madden.